Good morning, everybody. My name is Connie Carter. I'm on your board, and it is my honor to welcome everybody here, everybody who is present right here or in the sanctuary, or those of you online. Welcome to another beautiful Sunday service here in the Sacred Meditation Gardens. I'll come over here in the shade. Let's start, please, by silencing our cell phones so that we don't all of a sudden startle our neighbor when it goes off in our pocket or purse. Thank you very much for that. I would like to introduce our beloved Reverend Shara Moscinska, who will be giving our inspiration from the Sacred Ministry team today. Also, our musical guest today is Darius Lux. Or you can also call him Deluxe. He's okay with that too. So welcome back. I've got a couple of announcements to go through here. So let me start with Reverend Shara having her book study coming up. We're all very excited about that. We're going into the book called What Do We Do with Evil? Just feels like there's a lot of that in the air, and what do we do? How do we deal with that? And so we'll be using Richard Rohr's book, which is entitled The World, the Flesh, and the Devil. What Do We Do with Evil? It can be purchased on Amazon. We will be exploring peace through meditation, prayer, Lectio Divina, and discussion. It will take place on 3 Thursdays, beginning this coming Thursday, March 31st, from 11:30 a.m. till 1, and that's live, right? Okay. In the sanctuary, and then the next 2 sessions will be on Zoom. It will be trust-based pricing, and what that means is you pay what the class and group is worth to you based on what you can contribute, and even more importantly and specially is that 50% of everything that is collected will be donated to a Ukrainian humanitarian aid group decided upon by the group, and so it all flows together, so do sign up for that. The next thing that I want to talk about is the Garden Setup Ministry has a leader, and our beloved Kathy Corner has stepped forward. Bless you, Kathy, wherever, there she is. Graciously stepped up to include this team with the ushers and ambassadors, which she is also taking care of. We're looking for a few more folks to join that particular team. It's not hard, it's fun. You come a little bit before services and you just help set up chairs or pop-ups or bring out tables or whatnot. And that is what enables us to continue having these outdoor services. If we don't have enough people to help set up, we can't continue to do it. So come join us, come sign up. Sign-up sheet is on the back table, and you can also talk to Kathy if you've got any questions. The next thing I want to talk about is John Selby's Chakra Workshop. It's next week, April 1st and 2nd. He was the author of our AIF book, which we all really got so much out of and continue to. He's a wonderful speaker, very deep, and chakras are his passion. It will be experiential, it will be in the sanctuary, and it will be his first live event since COVID. We've got a few tickets left on Eventbrite, just a few, so that's a really good one to join in as well. We have a new member orientation coming up. It will be online. That will be Thursday, April 7th at 6:30. And I've talked to a couple of people who are interested in becoming members. And so if you're one of them, you can sign up for that too and join in and learn what it means to become a member here at Unity of Tustin. It will be led by Reverend Blair Tabor, who has excellent experience and he's great at leading these sorts of things. Let's see here. We also have a prayer vigil for peace in Ukraine. Wednesdays on Zoom between the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's continuing this week. It's hosted by our prayer chaplains. It's a time of silent prayer and meditation, and this is powerful. Some of us are wondering, what in the world can we do about what's happening over there? This is very powerful. It's very useful. So you can stop in at your convenience for a few minutes or however long you feel called to hold sacred space, envisioning peace in the Ukraine. And then lastly, and absolutely by no means least, today is our beloved Christy's last day here working at Unity of Tustin. Please join us at hospitality after the service to give her your well wishes and to say farewell. I just won't say goodbye. I will say farewell. We love you, and you've always been a blessing here to us. And that's it for the announcements, and now we will open our services as Darius sings Surely the Presence. Thank you.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory in each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning. My name is Jim Perry, and I'm one of your prayer chaplains here. And it's my honor to open the service with you and light the sacred candle and to read the daily word with you. And it's truly an honor for me because lighting the sacred candle just reminds me that the power of Christ consciousness is within us and accessible as easily as lighting a candle. Today's daily word is divine order. And the affirmative statement, which we'll read together after the reading, is divine order supports my life. The biblical reference today is from Proverbs 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own insight. Divine order is one of the great truths of life. It provides a foundation for all growth and a blueprint for all manifestation. Feeling stuck or bewildered is a sign that I'm out of step with divine order. I pause, and with compassion for myself, I release thoughts of worry, impatience, and doubt. I remind myself of times when I wondered whether a hoped-for result would ever happen, only to realize in hindsight that foundational aspects had to be in place first. Remembering this helps me be patient and trusting now. I affirm I cooperate with divine order. It is established in my life now. I listen with my mind and my heart, trusting that I will discern my path one step at a time. And once again, our affirmative statement is divine order supports my life. Can you say that with me? Divine order supports my life.
Good morning, Unity of Tustin. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday online. I'm going to begin with a couple of more announcements. One is our Healing the Heart of America group has begun, and we are meeting again this Wednesday. And what we are doing online is listening to a TED Talk and then spending time in community talking about that. So if you're interested in joining us, in the e-blast is the TED Talk link and the link to join us Wednesday at 6:30. Feel free to do that. And if you need any more information, reach out to Zelda, who's leading it, or to me, who's supporting it, Mary Jean, or anyone else that you might need some information from. I also want to take a moment to really recognize our hospitality team and to encourage everyone's participation. Now that we are in the sanctuary a little bit more frequently, when you leave the sanctuary, I really encourage you to exit right. It might be so easy to go right to the parking lot. Here, hospitality is right behind us. But please do so, because it's a time that we really can develop and deepen in community. Susan, who has been part of the hospitality team for over 10 years, talks about it as a ministry that nourishes community. It is, of course, about the delicious food and the excellence that's prepared, but what that does is it really nourishes community. And what you may not know is that all of the donations go to the hospitality ministry. So please feel free to donate generously. And as many of you already do, continue to bring in anything you're inspired to share. All of your gifts of food and drink are welcomed. Whether you're making, for example, I don't know, walnut oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, which might be my favorite, or, and if you're inspired to do something like that, feel free to do so. But we're also asking for things that are a little heartier, a little healthier, like a heavy entree or a salad or fruit, so that we really kind of get fed up after we're prayed up and we can stay and participate in our community afterwards. And if you're inspired to step up and get involved in this amazing ministry, talk to Bill, because Bill is recruiting new people to be part of the team, and it is a team that has the heart of family. It really does. And you might want to participate for once a month. You can make it work for you, but it's a really beautiful way to nourish the heart, soul, and body of our community. So hospitality, we honor you and we bless you and we truly appreciate you. And today I invite you to stay, because there will be an opportunity to sign a card for our beloved Christy and to share in some hospitality in her honor as well. And in that, today I would like to dedicate my opening prayer to Christy. As many of you know, Christy has been and Elena and Nevin's part of YFM, have been pillars of this community for over 20 years. Elena grew up in this community, has blessed all of us through her growing up, through her demonstrating what happens when youth are married with the teachings that we provide. And you have blessed us with your holiness of being. And Christy, through your quiet power, your deep kindness, and your infinite love, you have blessed us as a congregant, a community member, a community leader, and a part of our leadership team. Today is Christy's last day, and let us take a deep breath. And I think I have to stay this direction, Christy. But the power of spirit is going this way. Let's take a deep breath. We recognize that there is an inherent dance between the individual and the collective. As a collective, we raise each other as individuals, and as individuals, we create a collective of excellence and love. And we hold and affirm that Christy has been a pillar in this emanation of love, of this emanation of excellence, of this emanation of beauty of divine spirit. Christy, we see you. We bless you. We see the divinity continuing to move out from you as you springboard from this community into new community, where you can share your gifts and your light in ever new, beautiful ways. We also honor this transition as a reference point of grace and divine order that is supporting us all now. As a reference point of grace, where Christy is moving into new life, where Christy is moving into new love, and where there is a beautiful divine goodness that is an inherent part of this transition. And we know that it is in divine order for Christy's soul manifestation as well as this community. So I invite everyone to join me in the unity blessing for Christy, which goes like this. We love you, we bless you, we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. So Christy, would you please stand? Dear beloved Christy, we love you, we bless you, we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. Namaste. God bless you.
This first song is written by a singer you might know, Harold Payne, and it's called I Open Up in the Stillness. In the stillness, in the silence, I feel the sacred surrounding me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. In the stillness, in the silence, I feel the love inside of me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. Let my soul speak with each heartbeat, with every breath I take. In the stillness, in the silence, I feel the light inside of me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. Let my soul speak with each heartbeat, with every breath I take. In the stillness, in the silence, I feel the Spirit surrounding me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. I open up and I find me.
Let's continue with the meditation that song brought us to as we move into the stillness, into the silence, into that inner room where I find me, where we find we, where the personality drops away and the true self is alive and clear and speaking to our very hearts. With the breath, continue to drop into that stillness. Continue to drop into that silence. Continue to listen to the still, small voice that may not hold the answer, but holds the wisdom, holds the path, the secret door into eternal love, no matter what. And I invite you now to feel this eternal love in your body. What is its sensation? What is its reference point? How do you embody the love inside your secret chamber that is the reference point of source from which you can manifest in the world as your true self? And then meet us in our togetherness. I'm going to read a prayer that was spoken at the last Conspire conference at the Center for Action and Contemplation. Conspire, that beautiful word that means to spire, spirit, in spirit with, where we in spirit together, where we breathe the breath of God in the complexity of our oneness. In a world of fault lines and fractures, we stand in a place where opposites come together, awaiting the birth of what is to come. If you are doubting, welcome. If you are healing, welcome. If you are angry at injustice, welcome. We await a new Genesis, one more beginning in a series of starts, trailing backwards in time to the very first day. If you are afraid, welcome. If you are joyful, welcome. If you are longing to belong, welcome. God's generous rhythm of life, death, resurrection, moving in and through all things. The very breath of the cosmos itself. Our pathways converge and continue. Each one of us a catalyst for loving action. We, a community of saints, conspire. We, a community of saints, conspire. Let us conspire and let us breathe together in the silence. In the stillness, in the silence, we conspire. We conspire together. We in-spirit together. And we conspire and in-spirit together among ourselves, and we include all of those here on our prayer list at Unity of Tustin, and all of those in our minds and heart, as we stay in this sacred space and listen to the next soulful song by Deluxe.
Thank you, Reverend Shara. A few years ago, I was touring through Arizona, and I played at the center, the Unity of Prescott, and the music director there used to be the guitarist in a band called the Grassroots that some of you guys might know. I had the privilege of writing this song with him. It's called Living the Dream, Dreaming the Life. Feel the future, it's alive. Open the book and look inside. Live your life the way you want to live it. Give it all and you will surely get it. Turn the key, open the door. When nothing's left, find some more. I feel the change, I hear it turn around. I see that change, I feel it coming now. And oh, don't look back. Ooh, don't look down. Out of the grind, into the light, moving beyond what is seen, living the dream, dreaming life. Some people live for yesterday, not me, no way. Working hard, maybe working smart. Some have a vision and some don't know where to start. A child is born from the unseen. They are free, not yet stuck in between. It's gonna change, I can hear it turn around. I feel that change, I feel it coming now. And oh, don't look back, ooh, don't look down. Out of the grind, into the light, moving beyond what is seen, living the dream, dreaming the life, living the dream, dreaming the life, living the dream. Thank you.
It's hard to keep a good metaphor down. I'll tell you, I woke up this morning singing, "How do you solve a problem like Maria?" And I thought, I need all the help I can get. Because I don't know about you, but our Unity third principle, you know, what you think about, you bring about, that we're 100% responsible for our reality, from the altitude of soul, we create, promote all of our experiences, our life is the outpicturing of our individual consciousness. You know, it's always not quite landed. It's always not quite landed. I see too many problems. You know, what about children? Children who experience trauma. Is there an experience, a consequence of an internal reality? Is there a relationship between their childhood soul and the experience that they're having? Well, when I ask my teachers about this, they unequivocally say no. Of course children are not responsible for the difficulties that they experience. But when does it shift? 18, when you can vote? 21, when you can drink? 12, when you can reason? You know, where does that shift happen, and what happens to the traumatization and the processing of that happened during what we might say is the age of innocence? Or what about the situation in the Ukraine? Can we really say that all of the refugees, all of the people hunkering in basements and train stations, now some starving, are experiencing the outpicturing of their individual consciousness? I mean, there's got to be more to the story, no? Does anyone else have these questions? Yes. Has this always been like, doesn't quite connect? And I don't have the answers, but it has been a long-term inquiry. I recently talked to someone very wise who said, well, the first half of life we create our karma, and the second half of life we resolve it. But I don't know if that lands either, because it puts so much emphasis on the individual. And as a psychotherapist, I see this. One of the common experiences is for people to come to psychotherapy with excessive self-blame that may have experienced childhood trauma or neglect. And there's a very interesting relationship here, because when a child understands that the people that they are dependent on cannot responsibly meet their needs, many children in a state of genius decide it is their fault. Now, why is this wise? Why is it genius? Because if a young person is in a situation where they are dependent on people that cannot honor the light of who they are, if I say, well, it's my fault, if only I was a better kid, if only I behaved better, if only I did things differently, if only I didn't get into trouble, everything would be okay. It actually keeps alive hope. Hope for a better outcome. Hope for the possibility to have some sort of control over an environment. And that can be a driving force that brings the person into a place of self and prevents annihilation. Because if we're young and dependent and we have no control on what's happening, that's spiritual annihilation. If I overemphasize my power, then I can have some hope that maybe I can control it. Does this make sense? So in psychotherapy, we honor that. We honor, you were brilliant. You found a way to psychically survive a very difficult situation. And there's a next step. And that next step requires an outgrowing of self-blame, an outgrowing of thinking it is our fault. And that requires a very complicated experience of recognizing that reality is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It requires an understanding that we are part of a collective whole, and that we may experience things that are unjust, that might not be because of our outpicturing. To me, this is a central message and demonstration of Jesus. Jesus was not crucified because there was an internal lack of alignment that outpictured as crucifixion. We talk about Jesus as being the great example, not the great exception, and the most perfect human being that ever was. So Jesus' crucifixion wasn't necessarily because of an internal deficit. It was an experience of the collective. But what Jesus shows us is that even though we can and will experience injustice, we can transform it into everlasting life and everlasting love. And we do not have to be defined by it. You know, knowing that sometimes we are being victimized is healthy. Deciding that being a victim is the truth of who we are is the problem. And our practices and principles show us how to metabolize difficulties so we do not define ourselves based on our experiences. And we're also metabolizing part of the collective. We have to transcend the individual. There is a relationship. There is a both and. And also on an individual level, we are not going to be able to make an appropriate impact on these global problems like we're seeing in the Ukraine. That can be called a wicked problem. Now, a wicked problem is something that is global and collective. It's something like global pandemics, the impact of climate, what's happening in Ukraine, the aggression and the impact on the Ukrainian people. And wicked problems are where there are different ideas about what the problem is, or if there's even a problem at all. Some people may think this is very, very important because we don't want to set a precedent where acts of aggression over the sovereignty of another country become a new norm. That's been the norm for most of history. But even in democratic and autocratic societies, that has not been a norm anymore. So some people might say we really need to stop that. Others might say that's really far away. We shouldn't get involved at all. That's something that's located in that region. There's so many different perspectives. And that's part of wicked problems. We might not have a clear consensus. If we try to address it, the solutions might have unintended consequences because they might create new problems. So in order to disempower Putin's regime, Europe is going to try to get gas elsewhere, is going to try to get wheat sources elsewhere, but that might result in famine in Africa. So there is this complexity where we can't do one thing without impacting something else. There is an entanglement that we have to accept. But yet, in wicked problems, something must be done. Yet something must be done. And usually what needs to be done is going to be a collective response among many different players that maybe have not collaborated before in a way that's never been done before. And this is where our spiritual principles need to help us develop the capacity to be in the unknown. So what can emerge from us individually and collectively is an evolutionary new consciousness and way of being that has within it the ability to tackle wicked problems, that has it within it the ability to tackle things beyond what we can so far know, because the old ways do not work. So when I pull out my individual consciousness from a complex wicked problem, it doesn't impact it very much. It doesn't make much change. In spiritual communities, we often emphasize practice about the cultivation of the individual, with the assumption being that once there is a critical mass of individual change, individual transformation of consciousness, it will inevitably change the whole system. But Richard Rohr, Otto Scharmer, and other contemporary evolutionary leaders are observing that that doesn't seem to be what is happening, because it tends to ignore the collective structural dynamics of deep social change. The challenge is, how can we apply the power of spiritual practice to transform not only the cultivation of the individual, but also the transformation of the collective? How can we be part of the evolution of society, the evolution of culture? How can we become entities capable of creating culture that supports the individual to be their best selves, to share their gifts in the world, to have hierarchies not based on power, but based on a coherent organization based around the sharing of our gifts and God-given talents? That's what we're looking for. There's this dance, there's this conversation between the individual and the collective. There's also an emergence that happens between the individual and the collective. When we do individual practice, we can transform and see things that we didn't see before. When we work as a collective, something can emerge from that as well. Teilhard de Chardin says, we cannot reach our own individual ultimate apex without emerging from our individual selves by uniting with others in such a way as to develop through this union an added measure of consciousness. So we know this teaching is when two or more are gathered, there I am. When many of us are gathered, there I am. We potentiate the possibility of the new arising, the new capacity, the new spiritual ways of perception that will help us move to a new level of consciousness awareness individually and make meaningful change on the social collective. This is also important because while we can grow individually, when we are part of a community of coherence, like we are right here, we can create a coherent field that lifts us up individually in a way that we might not be able to do on our own. And then once we are lifted up, we are then part of strengthening that coherence of the collective that can then lift up others. And it becomes an upward spiral, individual and collective, individual and collective. So in our spiritual communities, we often talk about how everything is a mirror. But from the sophisticated Kerplunk model, we can see that there are at least two levels of mirroring. We have the individual mirror, where life is a mirror of individual consciousness, and the social mirror, where life is an outpicturing of collective consciousness. And they interpenetrate each other. Now, of course, we cannot say that if the Ukrainians had a more evolved consciousness, they would not be experiencing war, that they are holding ideas in mind which are outpicturing as war, or that they would be able to respond with equanimity and not be traumatized. Just as we could not say that Jesus' consciousness brought about his own unjust murder. But we can say that on the collective level, the collective organism of humanity is holding ideas. And this is what our teachers, the Fillmores, called race consciousness, that can outpicture as war and can have an impact even on those who are, on a certain sense, innocent. It's a both and. It's a both and. Spiritual individual transformation is essential, but it is not enough. But we do need individual transformation for our own evolution and in order to listen to that evolutionary future that wants to emerge and be a vehicle for this future that wants to emerge. Does that make sense? You know, when I change my individual consciousness and it doesn't change the collective, in a sense it's because we're all working on, 10,000 different Kerplunk machines. But when we attune and we listen and we have a relationship with the collective life that also is moving into wholeness, then our individual transformations can start to impact each other and we can start seeing movement and destabilization of the structure that was being held together by us all. Does this make some sense? And I think this is, again, a conversation, something to really explore of what is this curiosity? What is this relationship between individual will and collective will, between individual experience and collective experience of race consciousness? And how do we participate in it? And at the same time, last talk, and at the beginning of this talk, I've been emphasizing the collective. because I think that is under-discussed. But at the same time, we know our practices do work and do make a difference and do create tremendous change in our lives and on the individual level. We know it. Most of us have experienced it individually ourselves. So some of this is scale. You know, on different scales, there are different laws. In this three-dimensional world, Newtonian physics works wonderfully well. But when we get to things very fast, like the speed of light, or very small, like subatomic particles, it starts to fall apart, and we need new laws, like quantum mechanics. So on different scales, we have different ways of being. And on the scale of our individual life, using our principle and taking that responsibility is incredibly important. So there's a paradox here. And I'm actually going to pivot to talk about the individual journey that most of us are more familiar with, and how that can serve that collective evolution that we also need in order to make meaningful social change and in order to change some of the patterns that actually cause so much individual trauma and awareness. And I'll do that by sharing my own story. So in my life, and this goes back only 12 years, I realized I had a chronic critical voice faithfully critiquing my every move. Can I get an amen? You know, and as a result, whenever I behaved in a way that was outside of my beyond reproach box, that could be maybe I was too forceful with an opinion, or I didn't speak up at a key moment, or I showed up in an inauthentic way at a party, I would point out my shortcomings to myself again and again. And the impact was I always felt that my real and authentic life lay slightly over the horizon, someplace I couldn't quite reach because my inner critic made sure I sailed way too close to shore. So for many years, I lived a type of tempered adventurousness. I'm a very adventurous person. I am a very experience-based person. So I was a little too expansive for my inner critic to contain, but I was too self-critical to freely expand. And that created an ongoing internal tension and that sense of chronic discontentedness. So there was a turning point to all of this, which I'll set up. So about 12 years ago, I was studying the Ho'oponopono with Dr. Hugh Lennon, my mentor. And this is a practice of taking 100% responsibility for every experience in your life, because at the altitude of soul, if you are experiencing something, you are creating, promoting it, or allowing it in some way. You know, this is a very common spiritual principle, but without discernment, it can be pretty problematic. But what I could see is that I could apply this spiritual principle to my own internal psyche. If I make this kerplunk game my own thoughts, I can take 100% responsibility for the thoughts I create. I can take 100% responsibility for this critic, this entity that I am creating. And I realized I was using my life energy to create this inner critic that was essentially oppressing my authentic expression. So I did this practice. And this came as an inspiration. So I was very motivated and very dedicated. And I said, I am going to see what happens in faith. And every time my critic reared its critical head, I would say, I'm so sorry, I love you, please forgive me and thank you. I am so sorry. I am so sorry that I am using my one wild and precious life to create you so that you can criticize me. And I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And please forgive me, my family, my ancestors, my culture, everything that went into creating you. And thank you for your role. Your role is to show me that I am out of alignment with Source. Your role is to remind me to get back into alignment with Source. And I would say to myself, Shara, you are the light of the world. So you can see how we can reconcile things into living love, because now my critic became my doorway into remembering my true self and reminding myself that I am the light of the world. I did this hundreds of times. In fact, in his last talk, Blair talked about how Charles Fillmore said it takes 2,500 times to transform thought. I believe it. I believe it. I would say, I'm so sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you, and then go back to my work, and there it was. And it would even become more persistent because this entity realized it was being extinguished and it wanted to survive. Now, concurrently, I had joined an exercise and lifestyle program called Body for Life at the Jewish Community Center, which was a little bit socially conservative. And after my workouts, which were very, very hard, my body would ache, and I would spend some time in the steam room. But all the times I went in the steam room, I never once saw another human being. So I don't know about you, but when I'm in a steam room, I think you're supposed to be naked. Okay, I don't know this for sure. I wasn't sure, so I even tried bringing in a towel, and it got so sopping wet, and in the back of my trunk, the time I got home, it smelled. It's like, this doesn't work, you've got to be naked in a steam room. But I never saw another person use the steam room. So I had no idea if I was doing this right, or if I was breaking a taboo, or committing a type of spa faux pas. And then one day the miracle happened. I was in the steam room, naked, and another woman walks in for the very first time. And she is wearing a full bra and panties. I stood there in shock. Shara, this is a spa faux pas. I felt a strong physiological shock go through my entire body, and at the same time, clear as day, I heard an inner voice that said, Shara, you are the light of the world. All of that work that I did, all of those thousands of times, deconstructed my inner critic, and my loving voice became my new default. Yeah. And I will tell you, it changed my life. I was part of a spiritual community for 7 years that was self-run. We had no minister. We were our own minister. We as a community would take turns giving the Sunday message. For 7 years, I saw my friends and colleagues go up and tell their story. It was always good. And I always yearned to be up there and tell my story as well. And in 7 years, I didn't do it even once, even though I had the calling, because inner critic said no. I would be the platform assistant. I'd often find ways to make jokes, and people really liked my presence, and they asked me if I would be a regular platform assistant. I said no, because my inner critic was had the steering wheel of the life of my inner bus. You know, when we let what is not the truth of who we are drive our life, we are preventing ourselves from coming forward with our gifts of spirit that are the gifts that are going to make a difference in transforming the collective and making that profound social change, right? So I'm going to ask you now, take a moment to go inside. And what is your barrier that interferes with your expressing the truth of who you are? What is the pattern, the image, the belief system, the thoughts, the physiological reactions that interfere with your expression of being the truth of who you are? And how can you deny that and affirm the truth of who you are? I love Myrtle Fillmore talks about denials as sweeping away that which gets in the way of seeing yourself the way Spirit sees you, with unconditional love. What do you need to do so that you can bring forward the perspective of seeing yourself with unconditional love? And I invite you to do it again and again and again. Maybe you want to say, I'm so sorry, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you, I am the light of the world. Maybe you just want to notice it and take a moment to go into the nothingness and give it up in prayer with the faith that with enough times of giving your blocks over to Spirit, there will be a critical mass which will change your consciousness so the truth of who you are can be that default voice that operates for you. And from that place, each of us is on a journey to continually expand the capacity to live the gift of who we are. And when we are in connection with that gift, and we attune to the collective, we attune to not what we know, but what wants to be known. Not what is, but what wants to be born. Not who we are, but who we are becoming in divine order, guided by the intelligence of Spirit. We not only contribute to our own individual transformation, we contribute to the transformation of the collective as well. So what we need to do is to attune to our small piece of the collective evolution that we are being called forward to live, so that we can be that vehicle to create not just a new consciousness for ourselves, but truly a new heaven and a new earth right here and right now. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Shara, for your beautiful prayer service and for just reminding us, inviting all of us to live the truth of who we are and to lean into what Spirit calls us to do next. Before we come to the time of receiving our tithes and our love offerings today, we'd like to take a moment to welcome anyone who might be here for the first time. I saw a few newcomers at the beginning today, but if anyone is here for the first time and didn't receive their welcome packet and a flower, please raise your hand so that our ushers can come find you. Is there anyone here that's new? Hello, welcome. Keep your hand raised and our ushers will come to find you. Welcome. Yes, please do keep your hands raised. Our ushers are on their way to you now. and anyone who might be joining us for the first time online as well. If you'll send an email to unity@unitytustin.org, we'd be happy to send you some information. Inside those welcome packets, there's a name tag, so if you'll put that on, it'll help us connect with you after the service. And if you'll fill out the information card that's in the welcome packet as well, you'll receive a call from Reverend Shara, an opportunity to connect with her one-on-one, and we can also add you to our mailing list so that you can continue to receive information and we can stay in connection with you. It's such a blessing to be together in spiritual community, and so now we've come to the time of gathering our tithes and our love offerings, and those offerings do support everything that happens here at Unity of Tustin and how we support our community. And today I invite you to dedicate your own personal gift to that knowing and living from the truth of who you are and leaning into who Spirit is calling you next to be, for the benefit not only of your own life, but for the life of Unity of Tustin and our world. So, as our ushers begin to pass those love offering bags, Darius has another musical gift to share.
Thank you, Christy. This song's an oldie but a goodie, and I have a feeling I might be singing it a day too early. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles that are in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue sky. It's gone. I can see all obstacles that are in my way. Oh, gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, oh, a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh, a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh, a bright, sunshiny day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darius. So now normally is the time when I would bless the love offering. However, I forgot to ask us to all do the love offering blessing together beforehand, so let's do that together. Shall we? Holding our hands towards the love offerings or on our hearts, let's together bless these love offerings that we have just received together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. If you will stay afterwards and join us for hospitality, we would love that. Our bookstore is open. Shara will be holding her Sunday salon at 12:45 in the sanctuary. So anyone who would like to take the opportunity to connect with her and to take a deeper dive in today's teachings, she'll be there at 12:45 in the sanctuary. If you're in need of prayer, our prayer chaplains will be wearing their white ribbons and will be at the entrance to the meditation gardens to spend time with you to hold anything in prayer, a prayer of celebration or a prayer of concern. And of course, anything that you share with them will be held in strictest confidence. And also, I did want to say a deep, heartfelt thank you to everyone who came together to put this service together today. So many of you joined our setup team and our ushers and our ambassadors. Thank you to Kathy for stepping up and coordinating all of that. It's a beautiful outdoor service today. So wonderful to have all of you together. As we begin now to bring our service to a close, let's all say together the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I leave you all with my love and my gratitude. God bless you.